Okay, so thank you guys for joining in on this live instructor chat. I apologize for plan A not working, but we're going to go ahead and be flexible and go to plan B. So my name is Sabra Popoli. I'm the owner and founder of Hoofalls and Footfalls. If you have not checked out my website and the blog and Facebook page, please do so. Feel free to share this video afterwards to go ahead and fill people in on the meeting. But basically today, what I want to do with you guys is to go ahead and share some techniques that you can use at home while we're kind of all distancing ourselves right now. And these techniques will hopefully help you stay engaged and growing as an instructor. So this right here on the screen is an image of my tablet that I do some video reviews on. So you can see that there is a photo up of the rider, and then I have some little, they're actually quilting squares that I use. And this is kind of the basis for what I do when I do a video evaluation. So let me know in the comments, have you guys ever gone back and looked at videos of your riding or your students riding, or photos, photos of your students or your riding, and have you guys ever done like an in-depth evaluation on it? Let me know in the comments, because I'd be interested to hear who has already done this technique before. So while we are all kind of at home and we're not really able to go hands-on with our students and, learn in the moment, hands-on with them, photos are a great way to stay engaged and keep growing and refining our instructor eye, which is really the big thing that I really want to challenge you guys to keep doing. Because as we're on break, it's really hard to stay motivated when we can't be with our students. So I'm right there with you guys with, not getting to be out there with them and learn in the moment and everything. So let's see. So Jenny said, I have videos of riders. Okay, so I've reviewed videos of riders multiple times. That's what Jenny said. Levway said, Daniel Stewart does a clinic using videos of the riders and plays them back and draws on them. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. And I just want to give you guys tips and techniques for you guys to basically do that at home with your own stuff. And this is actually a really good tool to use in mentoring as well if you mentor other instructors. So this is, hopefully a tool that you can apply in many ways. And then let's see, Robin says, I haven't done it before, but I like it. Chrissy says, I haven't done this much yet, but in week 3 of the Path Mentor course, so I'm building my evaluation muscle. Good, yeah, so Chrissy, very good point that this is a really good way to build your evaluation muscle. So building your own eye, but this is also a really good way to kind of freeze a moment in time that you can then talk about to whatever level is appropriate for that person that you're working with or mentoring through. So photos and videos are awesome, and especially when you're working with adult learners, we are able to analyze and retain things better in this way than trying to give someone feedback in the moment and have them fix all of that while they're still trying to manage the volunteers and the riders and the horses and everything like that. So I specialize in doing remote mentoring and remote continuing development with instructors, and this is a method I use all the time and I use for myself. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this first image I have here of one of my students. I have permission to share this. So this is one of my students. She is technically able-bodied, and but I actually have a cool series of photos, which is why I wanted to use this as an example, because I have a really good before, which is this photo right here, and I have an after. So when I'm out in the arena, the image that I'm going to show you guys here in a minute is basically what goes on in my brain. So all of these alignment lines pop up, and I see, the different degrees that the leg is at and all of that. So it's all these things that are going on inside my head that I've refined over the years, and I'm still continuing to refine and grow to be able to apply it in the moment. So this is a really good way to build and exercise that eye that internal like instructor eye, so to speak, in our head by using photos. So this photo here, I want you guys to drop comments of what do you guys see here in this photo. So this rider is going around and we are on a lunge line. And the thing that I always do is I try to look at the big picture first. So we're looking at the big picture. So what do you guys see in the big picture? So to go ahead and drop a comment for those of you that are online, on live right now. If you're watching as a replay, take down notes and see what you see in a big picture. So in the big picture, I want to see kind of what's going wrong or what is going right as a whole. So one, the horse is moving forward, but two, I can notice, because I know this horse well, his face is looking a little bit concerned, a little bit of tension in the neck. So he's feeling that his rider's not quite balanced where he needs to be. I'm also seeing that the rider's leg is not in an appropriate position, especially her lower leg. Her pelvis is not in a good position. Shoulders are hunched forward. I kind of joke and call this the stink bug position. And her head is kind of tipping down. So let's see. Jenny says that she sees rounded shoulders, lower leg issues, balance is too far forward, and needs some core work and confidence issues, and she's looking down. Awesome. Yeah, so we're looking at the big pictures and we are seeing all of these now, these little things that are coming up. And our job as instructors is that we need to know what to go for and correct first. So I call that the primary offender, the biggest offender. So again, this is a snapshot, but you know, when your students going around in live time, you have to make that really quick snap judgment of, okay, what's the primary thing I need to focus on that will hopefully then set into effect a positive, you know, domino effect of maybe having all these other pieces fall into place. So with this student, I'm going to go ahead and pull up another photo right now. So pardon me while I go back. So we are going to talk about the front line and the back line here. So one of the things that I saw at first when I was looking at this was that her front line, so the front line of her body, is shorter than her back line. So from the front of her shoulders down to the front of her pelvis, and then the back of her shoulders down to the back of her pelvis. So the front line is shorter. Usually that means that one, it's either weaker and it's collapsing in on itself, or it could be stronger and it's overpowering the back line. So it kind of depends on your student. Are they weaker in their front line, or are they stronger in that front line area? And is it taking over or is it giving in? So, you know, what's the problem? Same thing with the back line. With their back, are they weaker in the back and so it's folding over and giving to that core, or is it stronger in the back and the back is longer and leaning forward? So with this student, she's working on building core strength all over, but at this time she was working primarily on having her front line, the front of her core, lengthen, so get taller, but still stay strong. So the front line, so the shoulders and the hips, you're wanting those, you know, the two for the front and the back lines to stay equal lengths. And same thing with our legs. You know, right now, the back line of her leg here, this one is shorter and tighter than the front line here. So again, teaching them to engage this part. So we're looking at lines. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna go now to, let's go to this photo. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. So again, like I said, this kind of pops up in my brain as I'm evaluating the photo. So I'm seeing that her feet are dipped down, her toe is pointed down, her line of sight is down, and that ear, shoulder, hip, heel, which is in this orange line here, is not right. It's like you guys had mentioned in the comments, the balance is over the shoulders, or that rider is tipping forward here, which is seen in this blue line. So having that photo, that pause in time where we can actually draw lines on and see what's actually going on is really, really good for our brains and really good at developing the eye of the instructors that we're working with. Or if you're stuck with a student and you're not sure what's going on and why they're struggling, then this can be a really great tool. Take a photo or a video of your student that you're stuck on, take a break from them, for a couple days, and then come back to this video or this photo and pretend like it's not even your student, and see if you can figure out what is going on. What's the root cause here? So at this point in time, does anybody kind of have a guess of what the root cause is of this rider's difficulty that she's having? Any guesses? All right, so here is another way to look at this rider. So different set of lines here. So the blue is where she's currently at, and the orange is kind of where we want to work towards, right? So we want our hips level. I should have had another one down here. We want the feet level. We want those shoulders, the front and the back of the shoulders level. Eyes should be level, but right now everything's tipping forward, tipping forward, tipping forward, right? So again, we have three things, actually four, because again, should have had it here on the foot. We have four things that are all kind of tipping forward. So what is the primary offender? What should I try to give the student what to fix and how to fix and why to fix first? What would set off the biggest domino effect? So Jenny said confidence. She seems to be tense. So yes, I would agree she seems to be tense, but it's probably because she's tense because she's trying to not fall forward. So her muscles are tight and she's not falling forward. Confidence does kind of tie into it. All right, so help says, so Stephanie says eyes up first. Okay, so Stephanie's guess her eyes forward. CJ says needs internal rotation of the thigh, strength in thigh, and relax through the core. All right, Jenny says take some deep breaths and relax. Chrissy says lower leg position. Jenny says open shoulders and adjust the pelvis. Okay, good. So you guys have some really good guesses going on. And again, like I said, I have a cool series of photos here. So I actually have a before photo, which we're looking at, and the after photo, and I'll tell you what the correction was that I gave her. And again, this is this student, this horse, this tack and equipment, this situation. This may not apply to the next student that has the same problem. Kind of depends on who the student is and what you're seeing. Okay, so my audio is cutting out a little. So I do apologize. My internet is hit or miss. The recording should be a little cleaner. So if the audio is cutting out a little bit, just maybe try watching on a replay. But unfortunately, everyone's jumping on the internet since everyone's working from home. Oh, the audio is not working. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear again. All right, so I'm gonna just transfer to a different photo. All right, so we have here this rider again. Let me know again if the audio is not working. All right, so here's another photo. So we have here her alignment, and this is still the before photo. So hips, usually when we do give rider corrections, we want to start from the center of the body and work our way out. So proximal, so in close, to distal, far away. And if someone can drop a comment to let me know if you can hear me, that would be awesome. Okay, better, awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for letting me know. So rule of thumb is usually that you want to start proximal to distal when you are trying to give corrections from your rider. So looking at that big picture, I do see that her hips are tilted forward. However, her pelvis is actually, in the overall big picture, it's really not a huge problem right now. And I think that there's something that is a little bit bigger offender than the pelvis. So I'm going to go down to the leg first. And I think the leg, because she's still, she's pretty stable in the stirrup. She's got a good light tension in it. I think that this leg is probably caused by something else in response to her upper body leaning forward. So I'm now going to go up this way. And okay, shoulders are kind of leaning forward. This rider I know is working on strength in her back line. So is this her back, and she needs to strengthen her back and kind of lengthen her tummy muscles while keeping them stronger? Or what's the primary thing? And then I'm also noticing line of sight. So someone had mentioned in the comment that the eyes forward or eyes up is where we always start. And yes, eyes are down, shoulders are following the line of sight, feet are following the line of sight. So in my mind, my guess was that the primary offender was that student's line of sight. So CJ said, is this photo at the walk the trot, posting trot? Good question. This is at the posting trot. So right now she's kind of in almost going up into a rise right now. And that is one little piece of this photo that's a little difficult, is that that actually she might be coming down out of it. So, because he's got tiny little strides, is that she is going to have a slight forward tip because she is in a posting trot. Okay. All right. So this is our before photo. So have your guesses. Now here is our after photo. Again, posting trot, slightly different time in the rotation of the, not rotation, my brain is blinking. In the cycle, there we go, in the cycle of the horse's gait for the posting trot. And we're going to take a look now at the breakdown of this photo. So one, I want you guys to look. Okay, horse. Look at how he's carrying his neck, his body, his facial expression here to here. Neck has settled down, a little bit more engagement of the top line. Face seems a little bit more relaxed. So even my horse is telling me, okay, this rider feels better. Thank you for fixing that. So this rider right here, to get her in this position, the only thing I changed was I asked her to look over the top of the arena rail. That was the only thing I told her to fix. And I said why was because as we're looking forward and out straight, that's going to help us bring our shoulders back. It's going to help strengthen our core. And then your upper body's leaning forward, which is why your leg is crunching. So, we'll hopefully see these positive things. So go ahead and let's, take a breath and let's look out over the top of our arena rail as we're going around in the lunge line. So that was the one correction that I gave, and we had this positive domino effect now of shoulders are better, line of sight is better, the foot has leveled out, leg is in a much better position. And we'll go back here and we'll take a look at our after is, okay, so here we go. So again, line of sight is better, feet are following line of sight, and here we have our ear, shoulder, hip, heel alignment, which is good. Her foot's a touch far forward. I would like it a little bit further back, but for giving her the one correction of adjusting her line of sight, this is a pretty significant change in her position. And I didn't overwhelm her by telling her shoulders back and fix your pelvis and rotate your thigh out and heel down and get your leg underneath. I tried to find that one primary offender, which was the line of sight, gave her that correction, saw the positive domino effect, and then we were able to talk about, okay, what do you feel different now? What do you think was fixed from that? And how is that, how is that helping you ride this horse better? So this also led to good discussion between the instructor and the student as well. And that's helping teach the student to build their own feel of their body. Okay, so let me pull up, let's see. Here we go. Okay, so here's now line of sight, shoulders, hips. Again, she's in that kind of that posting, the posting sequence. So her pelvis is tipped a bit forward, but not bad. And then feet are level. So you can see that because we did the split second, evaluation in the moment of seeing all these lines in my head of what was going wrong and what needed fixed. So what was going wrong to then what was going right, we were able to fix all these pieces that were going on. So any questions right now on how to do the photo evaluations? And as you get better at the photos, like I took this photo, I put the lines on there, and then I actually sent this photo to the student and to her mom. And I said, believe it or not, like this is basically what goes on inside my head out in the writing arena. And I have to take this information and translate it into what that student can understand and what she can comprehend. And so it's, for those of us that see these things like this, or, can see all those pieces, we have to teach newer instructors, or maybe instructors where this just isn't a strength for them, how to do this. And this is basically building your instructor eye. One other thing I did want to show you guys is another set of lines that I did that talks about leg angle, and that one is here. So before, for those of you that are, let me see if I can blow this up. Let me see. All right. So when we talk about our riders, when we have a good stirrup length, we should see a 45-degree angle from the ideal line, the ear, shoulder, hip line, down from the hip to the knee. So this 45-degree angle, and I actually measured out the 45-degree angle from here, an appropriate 90-degree line, up and down line to here, and this line should be 45 degrees out. But you can see that this rider's thigh is actually at a smaller angle, less than 45 degrees, because she is tipping forward. So now, if we look at this one, this is more appropriate, and you can actually see, boop, 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 sorry. So you can see now, so we have our ear, shoulder, hip, heel alignment line. It's a little bit tilted back here to the left, so I apologize about that. But right here, we have our 45-degree angle. So this 45-degree angle is coming out from the hip down through the knee, and it's setting a little low. I was having issues with the editing stuff. But again, building this 45-degree angle sight and eye so that we can adjust stirrups appropriately and see if it's a stirrup length issue that's maybe causing the difficulty in the rider's position. Now that she's in a little bit more balanced position, I can see that her leg's at a pretty decent level. Upper leg is at a good 45-degree angle from hip to knee. So it's not too long, it's not too short. If it was too short, the angle from here to here would get bigger, so it'd go out this way. If her stirrups were too long, her leg would probably drop down, and we would see the angle not as true, or her leg would be pushing, her lower leg would be pushing forward, kind of depending on what you're seeing. So 45-degree angles are another really good tool for instructors to use as well, and seeing that. So again, kind of just looking at those before and after pictures. So we have our before picture. So we look first at the big picture of what's going on. We start drawing those lines of, okay, what's our ideal? What should we be seeing? Where do I need to take my rider from or where they are at here in this moment, and where do I want to kind of mold them towards that ideal position? And then once I look at the big picture, what are those little pieces that I'm seeing? So the shoulders, the hip, the lower leg, the eyes, the core. And then now, out of all those things, what's the primary offender? What do I need to fix first to get the biggest result and hopefully set off a positive domino reaction? Had I gone for the shoulders first, she would have gotten tighter, and she really probably would not have been able to really adjust the shoulders without first fixing the line of sight. Had I gone for the hips or the lower leg, she again would probably have been able to fix her lower leg for maybe 1 or 2 steps, but then would have had it go back to this position because again, that primary offender here, the line of sight, wasn't getting addressed. So it's super important to, troubleshoot of, okay, if I fix this first, is it going to solve the problem? And it's okay too if this was in real time, if I tried to correct the leg first because that's what I thought was the primary offender, and we're going back and we're having this same trouble, trying something else, trying to find the true primary offender if I made an oops. And we can even talk through that process with the students of, okay, I want you to correct your leg because this is what I'm seeing. This is how I think it'll help. Oh, oops, you know what? That didn't work how I thought it was going to. Let's try fixing this. That's how we learn as instructors. That's how we grow. That's how our students grow. That's how instructors in training grow as well. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to troubleshoot through all of that. All right, so is there anyone that has, okay, so, I just saw a comment come in, so I'm gonna go ahead and check that really quick. So, Jenny said, I had a rider who just wouldn't look up, so I actually put a picture of his sister in a pipe cleaner and put it on the halter between the horse's ears and told him to look at his sister. There you go, yeah, so that's a really good way to take this talk of, where they should be looking and adapt it to what your student needs in the moment, depending on the ability of that student. So that's an excellent way to solve that problem. Very good. Yeah. And, colors are great too. I actually have colors. You can't see it in this photo. I don't know if you can see it in the other one. Nope, you can't. I actually have, it's because it was before summertime, before I redid my colors. I have colors up on the fence. So there's blue, green, pink, like super bright colored tape that draws the rider's eyes to that level. So yeah, the pipe cleaner thing, using external visuals to have your rider set their eyes on. Try to avoid using the term eyes up or eyes forward. One, eyes up, your students are probably going to look up to the sky. Eyes forward is kind of an abstract thing that you're trying to ask your student to do. So you are going to probably have to teach them how to have eyes forward or eyes up, and what that means in equestrian terms, right? Okay, so Chrissy said we used a giant silly smiley face taped to the arena walls at appropriate height for those eyes when using the long sides of the arena. Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, so again, it's that external cue or that external visual that you're tying them to. So you have to be aware of where that visual cue is going to be. A cone on the ground, had I told her to look at a cone, I would not have fixed the line of sight probably because I would have been directing her eyes down. Now, had that cone been on a barrel or on the top of a fence, we're going to fix that line of sight. So be really aware too of the terms that you're using with your students and explain what you mean. Teach them, I call them common sense terms. It's common sense to us as instructors to know what eyes up or eyes forward mean. Our students usually don't know that. Our instructors may not even know that, our instructors in training. So we have to teach them how to do eyes forward or how to do eyes up, supposedly. Up is actually a really bad word when you're talking about that. So we have to do a task analysis almost of what do we mean by that? How can we tie it in visually to them? All right. So Stephanie asks, how do you see that translate to when they're elsewhere without the smiley faces? So that's a good question. We'll see if the response comes in. So Jenny said, I've used a helmet with a flashlight taped to it prior to riding and in a dark arena, and had them see what it's like to see where their gaze goes to teach not looking at the ground. Ooh, that's a really fun one. That's really good. Yeah. You could do flashlight on the helmet. And then you can even do flashlight on the hips, one side of each hip, and like make a little flashlight belt, have them sit on an exercise balance ball. And again, to teach them, again, almost the side of their hips. What happens when we tilt forward, tilt back, side to side of our vision and our hips. Great desensitizing for the horses too when you do the flashlight in the arena. Yeah. So that might be a really fun activity as well. So Chrissy said that she said Stephanie was a good reference point regarding the smiley faces. To come back to you, so you might think of it as adding support, smiley faces, and removing support, absence of smiley faces. Yes, excellent point, Chrissy. I think we get trapped in thinking that our volunteers are really our only layers of support, or if we like add on, someone mentioned tying the stirrups to the girth, that could be a level of, support. But we forget that these aids, these visual aids of teaching our riders, okay, this is what I mean by looking forward. We forget that that is actually support. And then as they grasp the concept and they can do it more independently, you can start taking away those layers of support, whether it be the cones, whether it be the smiley faces, or the little photo of the sister that's in between the horse's ears to draw the line of sight. So again, we're shaping what we want our riders to do. We're providing adaptations as we need them, and then we slowly remove those as much as we can and as suitable to that rider. So yeah, really good, Chrissy, good idea. Or a good explanation of adding support and removing it. And some students, you may not ever be able to remove that support. They might always need that visual external thing to tie it to. All right. Chrissy said, and the removal of support can happen in the same lesson too, not just progressing in subsequent weeks. Yeah, absolutely. You can put the smiley faces up, and that could be a progression in your lesson of, okay, guys, we're going to work on keeping eyes, looking forward and where we're going. Here's your smiley faces. And then you can challenge them and do a progression within your lesson of then taking those smiley faces down and having them go out and do it without the assistance of those smiley faces. So yeah, progression. That it doesn't have to be this big giant thing. And actually, if you think about it, going from doing it with the assistance of the smiley faces to doing it on your own for some of our riders, that is a really big thing. So, all right. CJ said, I've seen jumping instructors use glasses that are halfway blacked out at the bottom. Is that appropriate for therapeutic riding? I would say that that depends on a few factors. One, how would that impact your student? So are they cognitively able to understand the concept of that? Two is what horse do you have? What team support do you have? Have you schooled for it? Have you ridden in those glasses and you know what it feels like? Have you ridden on that horse and you know how your horse is going to react to someone who maybe is a little wobbly? But yeah, that could be a good way of trying to get the students to, adjust their line of sight. So just make sure that it's safe. And I would even say that the jumping instructors, they should also be thinking of the same things of, is it appropriate for this student? Is it appropriate for this horse? And not just making a cut and dry thing of this is a suitable activity for all. So I would say that potentially, yes, that could be a really good activity. Try it out yourself though first to see if it actually does what you think it's going to do. And so you know what it feels like on the receiving side of that activity. A kind of funny, weird side rabbit trail story of that is a lot of people have riders close their eyes on horses to, breathe and relax and feel balance. I think I'm probably in a small percentage of it, but if you ask me to close my eyes on a horse, I either get extremely nauseous, I will almost fall off the side, or I get kind of anxious. I'm very, very reliant on my sight. And so that is something that I cannot close my eyes while I'm riding. If I'm sitting still on a horse, I'm okay doing it, but in motion, that is not a good thing. But I know what that experience is like, and I have a little grace with my students if we do an eyes closed activity, because I know how sensitive I personally am to it. Other instructors have done that activity with their students, and they were met with some resistance for some of these kids, and I shared my outlook on that of, hey, this is what I personally experienced as it, or have you ever tried it? And a lot of them have said, oh no, I haven't, but I just thought it was a good idea, which it can be. I'm not bashing that activity at all. But just try to experience that activity yourself and think about how different people might experience it, is, I guess, kind of the long story short of that side rabbit trail. All right, so to kind of recap here, we talked about this before picture here of taking photos of your students, oh, the audio's not working again. It should be better. I got the notification that my internet was a little glitchy. Should be working again. I'm sorry, you guys. Technology is just not cooperating with me today. But again, I will repost this video, and hopefully the audio saves better since it is from my computer. It should be recording my audio straight away, and it should be clean. So again, just to recap, we have to help build our instructor eyes, taking snapshots of things that are going wrong or going right in our lessons is a really good tool, and it can be to build your own eye, and it could kind of be in your little stockpile of tools that you use to help mentor instructors, or maybe do team building. Take a photo of someone, take a photo of each other's classes and sit together if you have a coworker and go over it together, because you might see something that your coworker doesn't see, or they might see something that you don't see. So it's a really good way to just bounce ideas off of each other, open up your eyes, to new things. And especially if it's your own student, you might have blinders on almost that get you stuck into seeing what you see on a regular basis, and you might be forgetting to look at these other pieces. So don't get stuck with those blinders on just because it's your student that you see all the time. So we have our before photos, we have our after photos, and then draw lines on them. If you have to print them off, print them off. If you have like a tablet that you can write on, you can pop these photos into, actually on here, I have a Microsoft, I have a PC, and you can actually do edit and create, and you can, oh, sorry, wrong one, not edit, draw. So you can find these really cool tools where you can actually, draw on here and draw what you're seeing in your student. And it's a little hard with a mouse, but you can use these tools and talk through it and say, okay, if the pelvis is facing forward, what does this cause then? So it's almost like for those of you that did like philosophy classes, if this, therefore this follows. If this, then that. So it's kind of like these equations. So if pelvis is tilting down, then I'm seeing these domino effects in my rider. If the line of vision is down, then I see these domino effects. If I fix the line of vision, I will probably see these 4 results. So just do these mental activities and mental games with yourself and with instructors. Do it with yourself. If you don't have access to students right now, go ask someone, again, safely socially distancing, ask them to take a photo of you on a horse while you're walking or trotting or standing still, and do this on yourself as well, and you might see some interesting stuff. All right, so I'm gonna read a couple more comments. So Jenny said, photos are great for visual learners, and I've had my riders draw their lines for self-discovery. Yeah, excellent. Excellent way to tie this in for your students. Really good. Yeah. And it takes out you're just being a mean instructor and picketing on them. They get to actually see what you're seeing, and it kind of helps them accept that feedback sometimes a little better. Stephanie says, I'll even take pictures and then give an instruction to and show the rider right there in the arena. Yes, so same thing, yeah, phones. We have these amazing smartphones. Take photos, take videos if you're just hitting a roadblock with your student and show them the photo. So really great. Chrissy said, this is an exercise to do in the interim while many of us have a break. I have old videos and photos to work with. Thanks for the idea. You're very welcome. So yeah, go through, pick photos, pick videos, go through and draw lines on them, use them as teaching tools. If it's a really cool one that you could send to a student, send them the photo and maybe have a little Zoom chat and talk about it with them. This could be a really great way to, stay connected with your students too, is, hey, let's talk about these photos that we have and how can we learn from them. Talk about them with your instructors in training, talk about them with your volunteers maybe. So, oh, and Jenny said the internet is full of riders as well. Yes. Just again, be aware of copyright and faces, blackout faces if you're going to share them, but if they're for personal use, yeah, grab photos off the internet and see what's going wrong or right. And I'm going to try to find a photo with a rider with a full team and do an evaluation like this, looking at a full team, because when we have volunteers in the picture, whether it's a horse leader and one sidewalker, a horse leader and two sidewalkers, then we have on additional layers that we need to be doing this same evaluation on. So we're not just looking at the lines and the cause and effect and of our rider and the horse the rider. We now also have our volunteers to take into consideration. So I'll be working on that. That will probably be another live instructor chat coming up. We can look at the impact and how to analyze photos of not just students and horses, but students and horses and the impacts volunteers have on them. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. If anyone wants to drop any comments here, I'll go ahead and answer those. But other than that, I'll close this out. I will upload this, assuming technology cooperates, and I will share this video so that you can share it. All right, Catherine says, does your horse trot on command with no lunge whip? Most of my horses do, yes. So I have 3. 2 of them are very good about verbal commands. So walk, trot, canter. Clucking is a walk and a trot. It's like a kicker cue for me, or an energy cue. And then my sneaking, the pissy, is canter. However, with some of the little peanuts, they know that they can be a little bit lazier because the kiddos can't really do much. And so I do sometimes have to lunge with a whip in my hand, but I'm schooled. All the horses are schooled to accept that. This student though, she was doing most of the transition work by herself. Same with using inside leg to kind of keep them out, along with seat cues and all of that. So kind of depends on the horse, but yes, my horses are usually verbally voice command trained. But I do use a lunge whip if I need it, and I usually keep it tucked behind me to have it there just in case. All right, so Chrissy said, oh, love that, horse leaders and sidewalkers too. We could use that in a volunteer training workshop. Thanks. You're welcome. And Stephanie said, use creativecommons.com for open source photos. Ooh, good idea. Thank you for the link. All right. Catherine says, that's why you can use the camera and lunge whip. Yes. So you can kind of see my shadow here. And again, I was trying not to let the thing drop on the ground. I actually did set the lunge whip down for this. Or if I have to quickly take a photo, I'll tuck the lunge whip under my arm, hold my line in one hand, and then I quickly snap the photo, or I'll have another external person take that photo. Again, I'm very, very cautious of when I take photos or videos, and I'm on that lunge line. This is a student that is more independent. I do a lot of lunging schooling with my horses where I feel confident being able to do this for a second. So please be very careful if you guys are doing photo or video and you are the one that is in the center of that circle. So please, please, please be very careful. So a little disclaimer there. But I know the student, I know the horse. It was a brief snap and then we were ready to go. All right, so I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for jumping on and going with plan B of doing it through Zoom. Feel free to share this video later once I get it up on the Hoofalls and Footfalls page. And I'll be looking for some photos to do a volunteer team analysis and lines there and cause and effect and kind of break down that sense. Photos and videos are what we have right now during this break. So have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you guys for joining in, and I will talk to you guys later.